Hello everybody, I am making this video about Lorne Armstrong's DD-214. Now for those of you that don't know what a DD-214 is, as you can see here on the screen, at least I hope it's coming up on the screen correctly if I've edited this video correctly. It is the discharge paperwork that anybody receives when they exit the United States military, whether it be Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard. If you have served for any period of time in the U.S. military and you separate, you retire, you are medically discharged, you're kicked out, whatever the reason is for you not being in the military anymore, you will receive one of these DD-214s. As you can see in the top there, it says Certificate of Release or Discharge from Active Duty. Now, I don't know if it's ever been discussed before with everything that we know about Mr. Armstrong. We know not as much, to my knowledge at least, not as much about his Air Force career as we know about a lot of the other aspects in his life. And with me being an Air Force veteran myself, I kind of wanted to look into his background a little bit more. Now, I've heard discussions from different people in the Lorne Armstrong universe kind of talk about what his time in the Air Force would have been. And it led me to go on a little bit of a hunt for the 214. I couldn't find it anywhere online, so I kind of had to go about it in a bit of a secret squirrel kind of way, and I was able to get two copies actually of the of his 214 sent to me. I kind of went about it in a bit of a dishonest way, but if it serves the community a little bit, then so be it. We know Lorne is not really anyone that we should have too much care or regard for in terms of his privacy or personal matters being aired out. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of go over what the information on his 214 kind of tells everybody. So if you look at the top there on the screen, it starts off with his name, as we know, Lorne Lynn Armstrong. Box number two is it says Air Force, regular Air Force, so that means that he was just enlisted, regular active duty. He wasn't reserve, he wasn't guard. Box 3 would be his social security number, which I have blacked out. I will do him that much because I don't really think it's appropriate to kind of put that kind of information out there. It is out there if you want to find it. I won't tell you where, but you can find it. I found it, and through that is how I was able to obtain it. Box number 4, grade, rate, or rank, A1C. So that means that he was an airman first class at the time that he was let go from the Air Force, which would correspond with 4B, pay grade, E3. So an airman first class being an E3, that would have only been his second promotion. I'm not sure. I was in the Air Force way after the fact. We'll get to it in a little bit, but he served in 1991. I'm about, let's see, about 15 years after the fact. So I'm not really sure if things were significantly different during the time that he was serving, but when I was in, A1C is kind of, you're just given that rank. It's not a rank of high responsibility, and with the amount of time that he has served, he would have just gotten that, unless he did something severely reckless, which would have had his commander postpone his promotion. Given the amount of time that he was in, yeah, it sounds about right that he would have been A1C. Next, on box 5, we have his date of birth, which everybody knows is a very, very infamous date, as we would come to learn many, many years later. Reserve obligation term date. I'm guessing that's not applicable because he didn't stay in long enough to have one. If I remember correctly, that just means that if he would have separated with time left on his enlistment, he would have been thrown into the inactive reserves. Again, I'm just going off of what I remember how it was when I was in. Basically means that when you sign up, I can only speak for Air Force, but when you sign up, no matter if you sign up for 4 years or 6 years, you are ultimately signing an 8-year contract. And how that works is, say, like I did it for 4 years. Say that you sign up for 4 years. You are signing a contract for 8, but the 4 years that you're in, you're going to be active duty. And if you get out after the 4 years, you will be placed on the inactive reserve status. So basically, it's kind of like if shit hits the fan, like in the event of like another 9/11, then you would be called from inactive reserve and be brought back to active duty. I kept extending my enlistment. I never technically re-enlisted, so I served out nearly all 8 of my years of obligation under active duty. But that's a whole different thing. It doesn't really matter. Box 7, 7A, we see place of entry into active duty, Portland, Maine. So it just means that his processing station would have been in Portland, Maine. Why am I even blanking on what it's called now? MEPS, Military Entrance Processing Station, I think it stands for. Oh, I should have been a little bit more prepared, but it doesn't really matter. All we need to know is that he processed through Portland, Maine. His home of record at the time of entry was Cambridge, Maine. So that's where he claimed that he was living at the time. We do know that he was living in Cambridge for some time. So probably that's when he was still with Mama Gwen and company. Last duty assignment and Major Command, MAJCOM. See, this is where it kind of gets a little hazy for me because a lot of these terms were kind of done away with and reorganized and renamed by the time I was in. So 3 trans, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but PACAF with 100% certainty means Pacific Air Force. Then when you go over to 8B, station where it's separated, it says Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska. We do know that he's said it many times that he was stationed, lived in Alaska. What that basically means when you see Major Command anywhere Air Force related, the Air Force is broken down into several different major commands. You have PACAF, USAFE, ACC, AMC. I could go on and on, but basically what it means is that his location, their major command, served a specific purpose, and for some reason, I never understood it myself. Alaska and Hawaii, while they're obviously part of the 50 states of the United States, Alaska and Hawaii are considered overseas assignments. I don't know why. Specifically with Alaska. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because Canada is in the way of Alaska. I don't know. But both um, Alaska and Hawaii are part of the Pacific Air Force Major Command. Others that are included in that would be like Japan, Korea. There's probably others that I'm forgetting, but would be like the major ones. So technically, he could say that he was stationed overseas. Kind of don't like that he gets that little bit of a bragging right. I was stationed overseas myself. I get the allure to the ability to brag about that. I spent a little over 5 years in Europe. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. He was in Alaska. Elmendorf, I have heard mixed things about it from people that I've known over there. I hear it's pretty cool. I know it's cold. Depending on what you're doing over there in Elmendorf, it could be pretty rough. But I've heard decent things about it. So I can't really talk down on Elmendorf. Next, we go to command to which transferred, which being not applicable, just means that he was not sent elsewhere from Elmendorf. He was in Elmendorf. That would have been his first duty assignment after he graduated from tech school, and that would have been it. So we get down to primary specialty. Lists number, title, and years and months, and specialty lists additional specialty numbers and titles involving periods of 1 or more years. So this is where I had to do a little bit of digging, because the coding there is the old school coding. By the time I was in, we had already, the Air Force had already introduced an entire new coding system with the way they listed out jobs. And so basically the 47231B, that, let me find my notes. For anybody that is kind of a bit newer, new school, I would say at least like, 2003 maybe even earlier than that. I definitely from 2007 on. 47231B. So to kind of explain that away, that would have been his job specific code, because what the Air Force has is called Air Force Specialty Codes, nowadays AFSC. And so that how that breaks down, and I'm not gonna claim that I know exactly for this one specifically the old school coding, but looking into it, where that 3 is 47231B, that 3 would indicate his skill level. So how the Air Force does it is every single person in the Air Force has a skill level when they are awarded an AFSC specialty code once they graduate from their job training, and whatever that might be. And what that pretty much indicates, skill level, is their ability to do work, supervised, unsupervised, the proficiency, whether or not they have the ability to inspect work at that point, whether or not they are put into like supervisory roles. There's a couple of different things that it could mean. But him being a 3 level kind of really means nothing. It just means that he graduated from his job training and he was awarded the 3 level to pretty much indicate that he graduated from tech school. He has arrived at his first duty station, which would be Elmendorf, and he's ready to learn. That he has the bare bones knowledge of what it takes to do his job. After what I would assume would probably not have changed or not have been different back then would be on the job training along with his career development course, which would be everything that he learned in technical school condensed in a book form. And as we all know, Lorne is not really the best at doing paperwork. If we've learned anything from his rape class, as crazy as it sounds to say, if we've learned anything from the assignments that he has done throughout his rape class, he doesn't have an understanding. I mean, this is why he is 87. This is why he graduated last in his class in high school. He's not book smart. And I believe he has said that he wasn't able to pass some sort of course or class. I'll get to that in a little bit. Basically, the 3 just means that he was like bottom level, entry level mechanic. So where it says APR, special vehicle mechanic, refueling vehicle, the B at the end of that number, and I had to go look this up. I forget the website that I found it, but it was an official Air Force document that broke down the 472 career field. And there are 4 different, they're called shreds, A, B, C, and D. Because I was able to look up later on, they condensed a lot of it when they restructured how the job classifications would be. So B, for him at the time, he would have been, as it says there, refueling vehicle. So specifically his job would have been vehicle maintenance on refuel vehicles. From what I know of Elmendorf, it is a pretty busy hub for aircraft. And if I know anything about Air Force aircraft goings-ons, which I do, because I worked on planes when I was in the Air Force, he would have been working on the refuel, as it says right there, refuel vehicles. Basically, the trucks that go out to the flight line to help refuel the airplanes before they go out to do whatever it is they need to do up in the sky. Like I said earlier, there's A, B, C, and D. A would have been fire truck vehicle maintenance. C would have been materials handling equipment. And D would have been towing and service vehicle maintenance. Now, when the Air Force decided to reorganize and restructure their job codes and classifications and how things were going to be done, currently, for anybody who's a little bit more new school with Air Force knowledge and goings-ons, he would have been a 2 Tango 3 X1 Alpha, 2T 3, and then given his 3 skill level, 3-1 A. So if this were in today's terms, he would be, that primary specialty code would be 2T331A. And it looks like the Air Force decided to consolidate A and B, fire truck and refuel vehicle, so he would have been responsible for both firefighting and refuel vehicle maintenance. However, the squadrons break it up at that point, I don't know. But there is a possibility if he would have joined later on in the 2000s, he would have also been working on fire trucks. Kind of a scary thought to think that someone like him would be entrusted with the safety and security of fire trucks. I mean, let alone refuel vehicles, but this is Lorne that we're talking about. We can't say that he's not completely inept when it comes to maintenance. He kind of does know a thing or two. I forgot to mention this box number 10 SGLI coverage. That is your service member group life insurance. I don't remember what it was when I was in. But basically, that's just military life insurance. Everybody is covered under it when you sign up. It's just what you would think of life insurance, but for the military. Something happens, his family would have gotten a payout of $100,000. Personally, I think his family would have been better off with $100,000, but that is not the case, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm rambling. Box number 12. We have record of service. So it says here he joined active duty April 5th, 1991. And he separated January 26, 1993, which gives him a broad total of a year, 9 months, and 22 days. So not even 2 years. He couldn't even hack it 2 years, which leads me to believe that he was kicked out because of his inability to pass the book work portion of his on-the-job training. Wouldn't surprise me. If you go down to effective date of pay grade, August 5th, 1992, it just means that is when he received his promotion to Airman First Class. He would have, for Air Force purposes, he would have signed up and joined bottom tier as an Airman Basic, which would have been an E1. 6 months after that, he would have received his Airman rank E2. And I believe 10 months after that is when he would have gotten E3 if he was just a 4-year enlistee. I don't know if he signed up for 4 or 6 years, but either way, he received his last promotion in 1992, and it is a worthless promotion because everybody gets it. Box number 13, decorations, medals, badges, citations, and campaign ribbons awarded or authorized. It looks like he only got the Air Force Training Ribbon and the National Defense Service Medal. Those are automatic. You're going to get those when you graduate. You're going to get your Air Force Training Ribbon because you graduated basic training, boot camp. And you're going to get your National Defense Service Medal because you're joining during a time of war, or there is something going on in the world that the American military is involved in. So those are automatic. They're nothing to be like lauded after. There's nothing special about those. They're automatic. They mean nothing. Everybody gets them. They're participation ribbons. It's nothing to write home about. Box number 14, where it says military education, Air Force Basic Military Training, 6 weeks, May 1991. So May 1991 is probably comparing that to the date entered active duty. It looks like that's when he graduated. I'm a little confused why he wouldn't have his tech school graduation on there, because he would have had to have. But either way, at the time, I'm not sure what it is nowadays. I know I went through and it was still 6 weeks. I believe a couple of years after I was already in, the Air Force extended it to 8 weeks. And then last I heard, it was a 7-week course. So I believe we're still the shortest boot camp length out of all the branches. But yeah, he did 6 weeks. It would have been down at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. Got yelled at a bunch. Did a bunch of running, push-ups, sit-ups. I would hope that he would have had to have been on laundry duty, so he would have had to wash underwear of all his flight mates. But we're probably never going to get what his responsibility was in basic training. After that is 15... A and B. Member contributed to post-Vietnam era Veterans Educational Assistance Program? No. Post-Vietnam Era Veterans Educational Assistance Program. And I wonder if that's the same thing as like the GI Bill. I don't know when the GI Bill went into effect. I probably should look that up. But it sounds like that would have been his education benefits that would have been provided by the military. I believe there is a bit of a pay-in that you had to, well, I'm going to go off on another tangent here. The post 9/11 GI Bill kind of got rid of the buy-in for it, and it made using your benefits after leaving the military a lot easier than it was with the regular Montgomery GI Bill. But I'm not sure what the post-Vietnam era educational assistance program is. So I'm looking it up here. It says the VEAP is a program that required eligible service members to set aside money from their active duty pay for training or higher education. The service member could contribute up to $2,700, and the government would match that contribution on a $2 for $1 basis. Okay. So, yeah, that would have been the GI Bill. So why would it still be? I guess it doesn't matter. The 1976 post-Vietnam era Veterans Assistance Program was the first program requiring a payment contribution from military personnel while they were on active duty. In 1984, Congress established the All-Volunteer Force Educational Assistance Program, known as the Montgomery GI Bill. So he would have had the Montgomery GI Bill at the time that he was serving. It looks like he chose not to pay into it. He's an idiot, and he should have. He would have gotten free education upon leaving. Well, I would have to look up that. But he made the conscious decision not to pay in for free education, because I guess that $2,700 was just that important to him. High school graduate or equivalent, yes, he was 87th in his class, but he still graduated, god damn it. Number 16, days accrued leave paid, 30 days. And I'm not sure what it was back in the day. When I was in, you received 2.5 days of vacation per month. It started from day one until the day that you retire. 2.5 days per month. Which means at 30 days, that would have been an entire year of accrued leave. We see that he was in for almost 2 years, so it looks like he might have used some vacation time throughout his time in, if he only had 30 days, but either way. Oh, look at that, down here, the remarks. Terms of current enlistment, 4 years. So he only signed up for 4 years. So if my guess is correct, yeah, he would have started off as an Airman Basic like everyone else does. 6 months after the fact, he would have gotten promoted to Airman E2, and 10 months after that, he would have gotten promoted to A1C, E3. So it looks like he signed up for only 4 years. It says that he served in support of Desert Shield, or Desert Storm, on the 5th of April, 1991 through the 26th of January in 1993. That doesn't necessarily mean that he was in Desert Shield or Desert Storm. It just means that he was serving while this was going on. We know, at least to our knowledge from what he's told us, he has never deployed. He's never been to the Middle East. So he was just in when Desert Shield and Desert Storm was happening. So maybe the unit that he was in were repairing the refuel vehicles that were helping to refuel the airplanes that were actually supporting Desert Shield, Desert Storm. That is about as much as I can make of that. On the bottom of that, nothing follows. We've got some information from the VA Data Processing Center. I'm not sure what those stamps really mean. I'm going to go ahead and say that they're inconsequential to what we are talking about here. 19 is your mailing address. I didn't block that out because I highly doubt that that's even uh, uh, applicable to today. The nearest relative would have been Linda Armstrong, P.O. Box 58, Cambridge, Maine. Again, it's not anything that I'm sure is in use today. Member requests copy 6 be sent to Maine. Director of Veteran Affairs, yes. The bottom we've got Lorne Armstrong as his signature. That's him signing his 214. And Master Sergeant Mark A. Jones. He's the non-commissioned officer in charge of separations. He was the one to authorize the paperwork. So if we got on the bottom here, the type of discharge. Now, what we're looking at here is how he was separated from the Air Force. The discharge type was just regular separation. Character of service, honorable. So technically, he received an honorable discharge, which kind of blows my mind a little bit here, because when you roll down to block 28, narrative reason for separation was unsatisfactory performance. It means that he was not performing to standards. And again, the best guess that I could make is that he couldn't pass his bookwork. What a surprise. I don't know how they did it back then. The bookwork is so... You have to try to fail your CDCs. Anybody in the Air Force, they can completely back me up on this. You have to try to fail your CDCs. There's nothing to it. You have to go out of your way to fail them, because they are written for someone like Lorne. They are written to be understood and passed on like a 7th grade reading level. It is insane. All you have, and it's all multiple choice. Again, I'm not gonna say that's how it was back then, but I don't see how it would have been any different from when I was in. Everything is all multiple choice. All your questions, everything is all multiple choice. Just A, B, C, and D. And the way the stuff is written, you can just go back to the part of the CDCs that the question is related to, and then find the answer, and then go back and pick A, B, C, or D. You write down, you figure out what all the correct answers are, you write them down on a flashcard, and then you just memorize the flashcards. And then when you go to take your final tests, if you got to memorize, you're going to get a 90%. So he had to have either not taken a look at them at all, or it was just that bad at doing them. I think I left off on him not being able to do his CDCs because he's a dum-dum. It's all bookwork. It is crazy how easy it is. And I think you only need, at least when I was in, you only need like a 70 to pass. Obviously your supervisors, your commanders would have wanted you to do better, but like by the book, the black and white, you only needed 70 to pass, and he would have been in. He would have been able to stay in for as long as he wanted. All he needed to have done were pass the CDCs, the bookwork. The bookwork is like the hardest part. Everything else would have just been on-the-job training, and he would have had his supervisors sign off on him doing the repairs on the refuel vehicles, and they would have been like, good job, Airman Armstrong. He would have been like, and that would have been it. But he couldn't even do that. It's unbelievable. The last bit of notes, you have the box 25. I don't think I touched on that. If I haven't, box 25 is AFR 3910. That is just the governing regulation of how separations work in the Air Force. It is it's paperwork. It's all bookwork and guidelines on how separations work. Separation code on box 26 says JHJ. If you bounce that against 27, re-entry code 2C, they kind of go hand in hand. So looking it up, separation code JHJ, it means unsatisfactory performance. It is just the code it's like the paperwork code. So that would reflect 28. Re-entry code is 2C. So how re-entry codes work are basically codes that establish whether or not the separating person can re-enter the military. So I guess you have code 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 would be may re-enlist without issue. 2 would be may re-enlist, but restrictions may apply. This code may also mean the circumstances that resulted in the code are no longer applicable. Code 3 would mean may re-enlist, but may need a waiver, and code 4 would be ineligible to re-enlist or join another service without an exception to policy waiver. And then you have the letter part. He would be 2C, so it looks like his would have been individuals who were fully qualified when last separated but unable to re-enlist due to a re-enlistment control policy. Civilians with this code are fully qualified for re-enlistment. It just sounds to me rather, you know what, let me check. I'm a dum-dum. And I was looking at the wrong portion. I was looking at Army. Whoops. Air Force, right down here. 2C, involuntary separation with honorable discharge or entry-level characterization of service. So that all actually makes sense. So basically, involuntary separation, he was kicked out with honorable discharge or entry-level characterization of service. I just don't get how he would have gotten honorable with unsatisfactory. I guess because he didn't mess up majorly, he just couldn't do his job. I don't know. I don't see how that would be honorable, because usually, like, anything outside, again, speaking from my own experience, anything outside of, like, doing your term of service and getting out would be, like, general, not honorable. Or you can have, like, honorable under medical, or medical under honorable, or however it works. It shocks me. Now, this doesn't mean that he's eligible for any sort of VA benefits. I think that if he were, he would have been milking them for the last 30 years. He hasn't. I don't think he was in nearly long enough to have been eligible for any sort of benefit. And seeing as I think he claimed that he received an injury to his wrist while he was in the Air Force. Again, him being the idiot that he is, he never went through the process of trying to go on disability for it. I don't know if he would have been in long enough to have qualified for that. Either way, I'm glad that he's not getting any sort of benefits from the VA whatsoever, because he's undeserving of them. But that's about it. That is all for the 214 review. Again, I don't know if anybody has ever done it, or if they have, I don't know if they've been this in depth with it. I hope that this has been able to shed a little bit of information more about his time in the Air Force. Oh, there is one thing. There was talk about when he was in the Air Force, he volunteered for some. It was in the court paperwork, I think, for like his like job history. And in it, he mentioned that while he was in Alaska, he was a coach for some like kids basketball team, and that he received an award for it. I believe it was on like one of the Andrew Burkett streams, and they were discussing how would you get an award for coaching a kids basketball team. And what I believe that would have been was just mandatory volunteer work from when he was in the Air Force. If anybody in the Air Force, again, they can vouch for me for this. They love when their people volunteer for anything extracurricular, anything outside of work duties, and so I think that's what it might have been. His commander, supervisor, first sergeant told him that he needed to volunteer for something, and might have just recommended him to volunteer for something within the community, and he found that in the award. My opinion, the award was probably given from his supervisor or commander or something to just say, hey, you're doing a good job coaching the youth of basketball in Alaska. So it wasn't like, it was just like an attaboy. I wouldn't really put too much stock in it being anything more than that. I would hazard to say, that he was effective at being a coach. It was just him doing the bare minimum, as he always does, and getting recognized for it because he was told that he needed to do something. That is the only thing that I can think of as far as that goes. So that wasn't done because he wanted to do it out of the goodness of his heart. So I hope that kind of clears it up. Other than that, I believe I've touched on everything. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but I think for those who are more interested in this aspect of his life, I hope that my expertise and experience being in the Air Force myself and doing a little bit of research on what the AFSC primary specialty is and what it equates to nowadays, and kind of giving my input on everything. I hope it was entertaining. If it was, then let me know. If it wasn't, let me know either way. I'm always open to suggestions, and I hope that this was fun for you all. Enjoy. This is Christmas Eve. This is what I have going on for my Christmas Eve. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to those that don't celebrate Christmas, and I hope that this week and the next week for the new year are fun and full of love and joy and everything that Lorne does not have. Talk to you later.